It's the face of generational change versus the country kid from Gloucester. That's how New South Wales Labor leadership contenders Chris Minns and Jodi McKay are selling themselves to the party faithful. Both of them are joining us now live on Sky News to talk about what they're pitching to New South Wales. Chris Minns and Jodi McKay, welcome.
Hi, Annalise.
Hey, Annalise. Thanks for having us.
Now, let's start with both of you outlining what your vision is for New South Wales. Chris, to you first. What are you offering New South Wales as the Labor leader?
Well, look, I think we need to turn to a new generation of Labor Party leaders. I think what we've been doing over the last 8 years hasn't been working. We have to face the fact that we've had 3 election losses on the trot. It's devastating for Labor Party members to take that news, but it's the truth, and we need to change what we're doing in terms of priorities. I think when we develop policies for the people of this state, we have to remember the vast majority of people in New South Wales are ambitious. They're ambitious for themselves, they're ambitious for their families, and we need to reflect that in policy. The Labor Party stands for equality of opportunity, and we can never forget that.
Jodi, what's your big pitch for the next few years?
Well, let me pick up on where Chris ended there. I think what's important for us is we don't sway from our values as a Labor Party. So we've always been about fairness and about supporting people who are seeking opportunity, but doing that in a way that is respectful and understanding that there are different views right across this great state. I think for me, and one of the lessons we learned out of that March election was that we need to, and particularly over the weekend, is that we need to make sure that we're relevant. There is certainly groups within our community who don't feel that we have relevance to them, that our values don't have relevance. And you mentioned that I'm a country kid from Gloucester. I am. But I would say that rural New South Wales, if they don't want to vote for the National Party, they won't vote for us. And we need to change that because the values we have are actually relevant. They're universal values. So for me, it's about making sure that people understand what the Labor Party is about and then developing policies that are relevant to everyone.
Now, you guys had a glimpse of your competition there just before. Regardless of who takes over the leadership, you're going to be taking on Gladys Berejiklian. She wasn't necessarily the favourite going into the New South Wales election, but she certainly brought it home. What can you each bring that will unseat Gladys Berejiklian? We'll go to you, Jodi, first.
Well, I wouldn't be standing if I didn't think I can win this. I've gone head-to-head with Gladys many times because I've been the Shadow Transport Minister and the Shadow Roads Minister. I've always stood for what's right, and I will do this. I think I can win in 2023. Look, Gladys is a good operator, but she's effectively leading a hollow government, a government that's really transactional, where everything has a price and nothing has value. I believe that I can bring values that are Labor values but have relevance to everyone. And to be honest, I'm actually really looking forward to taking her on if I am successful. But if I'm not, I'm still going to take her on.
Chris, it's a big ask to kind of drive the Labor Party over the next few years and make it to that election and unseat Gladys. What do you think you can do to help do that?
Well, I mean, we've been very effective over the last 8 years at pointing out where the government's been wrong, the mistakes they've made, but we just can't be an ombudsman that's really picking apart problems of the government's making. We need to present an alternative agenda to the people of New South Wales. It's going to take 4 years to do that. It won't be an easy thing to do. There's many seats that we have to pick up, but if we're not in a position perhaps 12 months out where the people of New South Wales want to vote for us rather than voting negatively against the government, then we can't win. The people of New South Wales, I'm convinced, and I think Jodi would agree, if you speak to them in marginal seats or safe seats, they want an alternative. The government won that election, but it wasn't a ringing endorsement. And ever since, every day since the election, I think Gladys and her ministers have been running around like they liberated Western Europe. This is a closed parliament. It's a line ball situation, and we need to renew the focus on ourselves. If we do that, we present a bold, positive policy agenda. We can beat them at the ballot box.
Can I just say, Annalise, can I pick up on what Chris said, because I think he's made a good point. And there are commonalities, obviously, in what Chris and I are putting forward. But I think we had some really good policies. I think we just tried to prosecute them too late. So I think, you know, what Chris is saying, what I'm saying is that we actually need to have policies up front and to engage people in a vision, a Labor vision. And that means we've got to have relevance for people right across New South Wales. And I think right now we don't. One of those communities that I feel strongly about is also our multicultural communities. I represent a significant multicultural electorate. They have different cultural views, they have different religious views, and they're different outlooks. And we need to make sure we respect those and we're relevant as a Labor Party.
So it sounds like a lot you guys are agreeing on, but certainly there's
of
plenty
course,
you don't
we're colleagues. We're colleagues.
It's going to be a different kind of debate where the two candidates don't agree with each other.
It's actually really exciting, Annalise, can I say, because we have 20,000 party members that we now engage with, like Chris and I have been doing that over the last couple of days. This was done, of course, with Anthony Albanese and Bill Shorten. It's never been done in New South Wales. And I was with one of our branches this morning, and they're so excited about this because they actually get a say in the vision of the party, hear what both of us are putting forward, but also have a say in the leader. And, you know, I would think that the Liberal Party should be doing exactly what we're doing, to be honest.
True.
Well, they're in government, so it's a bit of a different position. But
well, Gladys may not stay there. Let me say that Gladys may not stay there. We're hoping.
Let's talk about, you both had skin in the game in the last election when you didn't win. You've both held senior positions. Jodi, you were the opposition transport spokesperson. Yeah. Why did you oppose projects like the WestConnex interchange at Rozelle and the Sydney to Bankstown Metro? Yeah,
so we went into the election really listening to what people were saying, but also understanding that we have a financial responsibility with the budget, so a financial responsibility. So we didn't oppose WestConnex out front. What we said was that we support the M4, we're supportive of the M4 East, and the M4, M5 and the M5 duplication. The issue for us was really around the Western Harbour Tunnel and the Northern Beaches link. Now, we've fought a battle about making sure that we put public transport above toll roads. We also believe that in regard to the Sydenham to Bankstown line, that's a workable line. It's a heavy rail line that works and it has capacity for the next 10 years. So for us, the focus was really on the Western Metro. Now, for those who don't know that, that's a metro that goes from basically the city to Parramatta. And the Western Metro for us is the priority. And the government has pushed that out into the never-never. So, you know, for us it was about being responsible, about acknowledging that there will be different priorities, but really putting public transport above these toll roads, which is what the government wants to pursue.
Is that not what the mandate was, though, from the election result? Is that not the people speaking and saying that they wanted those projects to go ahead? No,
I don't believe that at all, because I think that if you talk to people, I think they really do want to see an investment in public transport. You know, we're the highest tolled city in the world. If you look at the tolls that people are paying on the M4, it's well over $2,000 if they're regularly using it. And a lot of people in Western Sydney also don't understand that they're going to be paying a second toll on the M4 East. They've got the F6, the Western Harbour Tunnel, the Northern Beaches link. They've got North Connects. You know, whichever way you look, north, south, east, west, there are tolls on roads, and we should be focusing on public transport.
Now, Chris, you were the opposition's spokesperson for water, or still are. Why was it left up to several current affairs programs to expose the problems in the Murray River? Why wasn't that on the top of your agenda, across your radar?
Well, actually, it was 1 million dead fish in the Menindee Lakes that exposed the disaster of water management in the far west of New South Wales. That's the reality. The ecological and environmental disaster in the far west of New South Wales happened. 1 million dead fish eventuated in the town of Menindee, and it was the people who live out there that exposed it. Now, I can't take credit for that, and no one else can either. It was hard-working people like the McBrides in Talano Station, or the fishermen that use these waterways to recreate. They're the ones that have been impacted as a result of National Party mismanagement on the waterway. And I think everybody had a responsibility to expose that mismanagement from the National Party at both the state and the Commonwealth level. And I did my bit in that. But ultimately, this is
What was your bit? What did you do at the time?
I went out to Broken Hill 7 times. 7 times. Staying with farmers who live out there. Talking to farmers who've been on those farms for generations. Like the McBrides at the Talano Station, living with them, talking to them. I mean, it's not just a question of mismanagement by the National Party, it's also a question of climate change. These communities have been on this waterway for generations and are thinking of selling up and moving out because the government isn't taking, in my view, the issue of climate change seriously. Still, 81% of our energy needs come from 5 coal-fired power stations across New South Wales.
Now, we'll go back to Jodi. You're selling yourself as a kid from the country, but you've been in Newcastle and Sydney almost your entire adult life. Do you still understand the challenges facing people in regional New South Wales today? Yeah, look, rural New South Wales is something I feel really, really strongly about. So I grew up in Gloucester. I was born there and raised there. I left there when I was 18 and went to regional New South Wales, which is the Hunter region. But I still return to Gloucester a lot. So it's a town of 2,500 people. My mum is a
what you call a townie. But I was saying, you know, I've said this to people, when I go home, I'm not Jodi the politician, I'm Bruce and Colleen's daughter. So I've got to be respectful of that. But I'm home there regularly, and I do understand what it's like to be in a small rural community. And we have to be able to appeal to that. You know, if people there are really angry with the Nats, they just don't vote Labor, and we've got to change that. We absolutely have to change that. And of course, I did live in the Hunter region in rural New South Wales. When I left there at age 18, I was welcomed into the Hunter. I actually started work when I was 18 in the news library at the local TV station. I've been a journo. I've worked in the private sector there, and you know, it's a great place to live, the Hunter, as well as rural New South Wales. And there is a difference. I think it's really important to understand there's a difference between rural New South Wales and regional New South Wales, and we have to treat them that way.
Absolutely. Now, Chris, you've been a Labor Party insider, had a very different career to Jodi, similar rise in the party to Bill Shorten, but we've seen the voters really reject it at a federal level, that union rise through the Labor ranks. How can you win over voters that Bill Shorten couldn't?
Well, I think, look, I've worked inside the party and I've worked outside the party as well. And I think the main thing that voters need, and certainly Labor Party voters are interested in, is somebody that's got beliefs and is prepared to fight for them, who's courageous about the issues that are important to the people of New South Wales. I've mentioned climate change. It's important that we take action in relation to public transport, that we put a line in the sand in relation to public transport. Jodi mentioned the government's just obsession with toll roads right throughout New South Wales and Sydney. We've got this situation where the metro is opening up this weekend, that's true, but other than the airport line, there are no specific policies or funding around any new regional or metropolitan transport plans in Sydney. So we've got a situation where we need to take the fight up to the government. All that matters is what you believe in and what you're prepared to fight for.
Now, we know being the opposition leader for New South Wales, country's biggest state, it's a gruelling job. You have to be holding the government to account for the next 4 years. Jodi, we'll go to you first. I heard you say before that you think it was the wrong approach during the election campaign, really advocating what the policies were for the Labor Party during the election. But you were part of that strategy team. Why wasn't it a different approach? Yeah,
I think we both were, and you know, we're both in shadow cabinet, and Chris has done an amazing job in his portfolio of water. But I think what we didn't do is have relevance. Our values and our policies weren't necessarily relevant to everyone, and I think we prosecuted our policies too late. I think we fell into the trap similar to the federal Labor, where you're unveiling policies at the very end of the election campaign and expecting people to kind of grasp the details of those and exactly what they mean to the average person on the street. So I think we've got to do that differently. I think, you know, there's a shared responsibility we all have for not winning that election. But, you know, we won 2 seats in the lower house, which is great. We've got a new member for Coogee and a new member for Lismore, both amazing women. We've, again, you know, filled the ranks of our female representation. But I think we learned a lot of lessons, and I think this process that we're engaging in now, is actually exciting because it gets our branch members, our party members, 20,000 of them, telling us what they picked up during the campaign and what they want to see for Labor.
How about you, Chris? How are you going to prosecute the case for Labor for 4 years? Not a short amount of time.
No, it's true. And I mean, I think if we sit back and act like kind of Winter Olympians waiting for our next political opportunity, we'll be twiddling our thumbs. We need to make a difference today, tomorrow and every day in the New South Wales Parliament, take the fight up to the government, really change the approach from opposition where we were, I think, doing a good job exposing where the government was wrong, but also coming up with solutions to entrenched problems. That's what the people of New South Wales are after. If we can do that, we can make inroads against the government, but also we can present, I think, a mandate for a New South Wales Labor government should we win the next election. I think the key issue for us is we've lost 2 elections on the trot, probably for different reasons. In the state election, we were defeated and we didn't have specific policies. In the federal election, again, we were defeated with a suite of very specific policies. So it's a confusing situation. I still firmly believe Labor should believe in things. We should go to the next election and over the next 4 years prosecuting a case for Labor. If we do that, we have to have faith that our ideas are popular, that they work, and that in the end, when it's fully ventilated and debated with the coalition, our side will win at the ballot box. We have to believe in the Labor Party again.
Now, there's been some observations over the federal election campaign that federal politics and the discourse around it's gotten a bit nasty. So let's end with each of you saying one nice thing about the other person. We'll go to you, Jodi, first. What's a nice thing you can say about Chris?
Oh, well, look, Chris is a mate of mine. He's been a really important member of our caucus and our shadow cabinet. You know, Chris is super smart and, you know, I think he'd make a great leader. I just obviously think I'd make a better leader. But we're good friends, and I think we've made a commitment during this process to, you know, respect each other and to really make this about our party members who are very excited about this.
What about you, Chris? What's a nice thing you can say about Jodi?
Well, Jodi is an extremely hard worker and I would say she's a very good person. She's got good values and I respect her enormously. And should she prevail at the conclusion of this contest, it would be my privilege to work with her.
Thanks,
Very nicely
Chris.
done. Thank you so much for joining us.
I mean it too.